Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Andrea and I make videos all about crafting and organization. Today you are joining me on my craft room makeover series where I have been taking my chaotic, messy craft room and transforming it into the perfect, organized space. In part one, I showed you the real, raw, messy truth, which I feel like a lot of you actually related to, so thank you very much for that. Then in part two, I organized all of my Cricut machines and my Cricut supplies, including all of my vinyl and cardstock. And in part three, I put all of my craft supplies into this IKEA PAX unit behind me. Today's video is going to be a fun labeling video where I'm going to be making labels with my Cricut for all of the bins inside the PAX unit. Before I start making the labels, I need to figure out what sizes they need to be. An important thing to think about when making the labels is, of course, which way the bin is going to be facing out of the cabinet. So for example, these two smaller ones, if you saw my last video, you'll know I have them facing this way. So the ends of the bins are going to be where I'm putting the labels. Then these larger bins that didn't fit this way, I am storing horizontally, so the label will go on this side. Let's start with this one since I have this right in front of me. I have my tape measure, and what I'm going to do is measure the entire side of the box, 13 inches. As I'm doing this, I'm going to go on to Cricut Design Space, and I want to make a box that is the size of the side of my bin. I had started writing out all the different labels that I'm going to be needing, but for now I'm going to move this box down here and then change the dimensions. You can see right now it's 2 inches by 2 inches. So the width is going to be 13 inches. And then the height, 5.5 inches. Oh, we have to make sure to click on this little lock here. Otherwise, it's just going to adjust the dimensions to stay as a square. Then this is the size of the box that we have. We can zoom out to see it a little bit better. And I'm going to make this white. This bin has the Christmas deco mesh in it. So I'll find the label I wrote for Christmas Deco Mesh. Here it is. I'm using the font Sassoon Infant Pro, which just comes free on Cricut Design Space. Drag that down. And then I need to bring it to the front so I can see it. Thinking about how big I want to make the actual label, I don't think I want it to take up the whole side of the box. That seems like a little bit too much. But I also don't want it to be too small. I actually think this size that I have here kind of makes sense. Let's see, the width here is 8.5 inches. So we can take our ruler. Actually, that is pretty big. I think I want more like maybe 6 inches or 6.5. You can just drag the corners here until it's the right size. Let's try 6.5. And then that would be 0.5 inches tall. That's pretty small. The other option is to split it into 2 different lines. Okay, I'm gonna duplicate this, remove the words Deco Mesh, and on this one, remove Christmas. Then we have, in total, it'll probably be about 2.5 inches if the deco mesh is a bit longer, and that is 5.89. Yes, I think that is much more what I was looking for. This is why it's so important to play around with it, not just on the computer, but also mapping it out on your actual object. It's helpful to see both, I feel like. The other bins I have of this size are the ones that have my fall ribbon and my fall deco mesh. So I'm gonna make the labels for those now. Looking up here, there's my ribbon, there's my deco mesh. Bring that down. Again, we will bring to the front. I think I'm going to stick with the same theme of having fall on one line and then deco mesh underneath. Now, the way I did it before was have 2 separate text boxes, one for Christmas and one for Deco Mesh, and then I just grouped them together. But another way you could do it is have one text box and just press enter or return after the word fall. The nice thing about doing it as one text box is you don't have to worry about attaching them together or anything. This text will always be together and cut together. Now, if you don't like this spacing between the two lines, you can change that. Just up here, there's a section for line space, and you could decrease it or increase it. I think I am going to decrease it just a little bit, maybe minus 1.5. Okay, let's change this Christmas Deco Mesh one to be in one text box. Deco Mesh, and then we'll change the line spacing to minus 1.5. Now that you've seen the process for those larger boxes, let's move on to a couple of the smaller ones. As I said, I'm going to be putting the labels on the ends of the boxes. So let's measure that part. 6.5 inches wide. Height is 3.5 inches. The first one is going to be our glue and tape box. Bring to the front. Now we have to decide what size of font we want to do for these smaller boxes. Currently, this label will be 3.85 inches wide. I feel like that's kind of big, but 1 inch high. I'm gonna put these on two separate lines. Let's see what the spacing looks like, the same as the other ones, minus 1.5. It's time to cut out all of my labels. So I'm putting on a piece of white vinyl onto my green Cricut mat. And my mats are very dirty and not sticky anymore. I need to clean them. But in the meantime, I'm using Scotch tape and taping down the sheet of vinyl on all four sides. And this will help it stay in place while the Cricut is cutting it. Now I'm loading the mat into my Cricut Maker, then pressing go. You could also use a Cricut Explore Air for this project. Once it's done cutting, I unloaded the mat and I'm taking off all the Scotch tape from around the edges, then peeling off my vinyl sheet. You can't really see that any of the labels are there since it's white on white, but I'm cutting each one out with my scissors, and that'll make it easier for me to weed everything out and stick them on my craft boxes. Here's one of the labels. This is my Christmas Deco Mesh label. I finished weeding out all my labels, and now it's time to stick them to all of my craft boxes. For my transfer tape, I usually use this Duck brand Easy Liner. You can find this in the shelf liner section of Walmart, or you can probably find this on Amazon too. And this one roll lasts so long. There's so much on here. What I like to do is cut out one piece of transfer tape that I can use for lots of the different labels because it stays sticky for quite a long time. So it's better if you can just use one piece for as many labels as you can. That way you're not wasting lots of pieces of the transfer tape. I'm looking at all my labels and seeing what kind of sizes we have. These ones that are for the floral boxes are the longest. I think I'll probably have a different piece of transfer tape for those just because they are so long. But for the rest of the boxes, I think this Easter ribbon one might be the biggest. So I'm going to line this up on my transfer tape and then cut out a piece. Taking my label and lining it up. And this label fits really well on the end of this piece of the shelf liner here. So I'm going to cut that off with my scissors. Now the box I have right here is full of all of my red Christmas craft supplies. So let's find that label. This one says Red Christmas. The first thing we do is peel off the top layer of the shelf liner. You can see it has this white backing and then a clear top. We'll put the white part aside for now. And then taking this clear section, one side is sticky. So we put the sticky side down over top of the label so it's covering all the words. Then take a scraper tool and push down on the transfer tape. You're trying to get all of the vinyl words to transfer from the backing they're originally on onto the sticky transfer tape. So you want to push down, make sure you're getting every part of the letters. And you can even turn it over and push down on this side just to make sure it's really stuck. Then you want to carefully peel the backing away. And you can see here, you might be able to see here, not everything is coming. See the red Christmas Ed. The R is still stuck to this white backing, so we want to put that back carefully and just push down on the letter R. And that's why you want to peel it up very carefully. One thing that often gets left behind are the dots on the eyes. So I can see the eye, the dot of the eye in Christmas has not transferred to the transfer tape. So I'm really pushing down on it. And now it's coming. Carefully. And there is our red Christmas label. It looks like the dot of the eye actually did get moved over a little bit. I don't know if you noticed that. It's not perfectly aligned. So what we can do is get a weeder tool. You can also peel it up with your finger if that's easier. Try to get it in the right spot. Oops. It flipped over. Oh, where'd it go? There we go. Now it's in the right spot. I'll just carefully push it down. And that looks a little bit better. Now we'll get the box. These particular boxes are from Dollarama and they open like this with the lid attached. So if you do have containers like this, one thing to note is which side you want your label on. I want all of my boxes to open the same way, I think. This way. So I'm going to put the label on this side. So we take our transfer tape with the Christmas label on there and then try to line it up in the middle as much as possible. And you can gently push it down without committing to where it is. You can kind of lightly stick it and then try to see how that's looking. I think that's pretty good. If you can see there, the transfer tape is still on. So in the last step, we transferred the vinyl letters onto this transfer tape. And now we're using this tape to transfer the vinyl letters onto the container. Really want to make sure you're pushing down on each of the letters, getting it to stick really well onto the craft box or whatever you're making your labels for. I'm going over each letter carefully. And then we can start to peel up the transfer tape. You want to do this slowly to make sure you got every letter and especially the dot of the eye. Oh, you can see here, as I was pulling, part of the S is still stuck on the transfer tape. So we're going to push that back down and really press it in there. And then try again. Oh, it's still there. So what you can do is take a weeder tool and coax it off the transfer tape very gently and stick it down onto the box. And once I take this transfer tape off the box, I'm going to put it back on this paper backing so it can keep its stickiness. And then I'll show you what this looks like. That's our label on the box with all of the red Christmas craft supplies. This box has all of my twine and burlap ribbon. So I have this label here, twine and burlap ribbon. And as I was going to put it on, I noticed, if you can see on this box here, this part goes in like that. For all the rest of them, I have it fitting in this area here. But for whatever reason, this one, if you can see somewhat, the burlap ribbon part is too big. I'm gonna try to stick it on anyways and see if it works, even though it's gonna be overlapping that part a bit. I'm lining it up so the part where it curves up like that goes in between the B and the U, and then on this side it goes between the O and the N. So we'll see if that sticks okay. I've used this piece of transfer tape a few times now. So the more you use it, the less sticky it becomes, and you'll have to push down harder and just be a bit more careful. Let's see. So far, so good. Oh, oops. I got too confident at the end there. The end got left behind. Okay, we'll try to line that up. Stick it on. There we go. It'd be better if this part was smaller and fit in this little section here, but I think that'll work okay. For these Dollarama boxes, I've been putting all the labels on this side, so it opens that way and has the label facing this way. But on this particular box, it is cracked here. You might not be able to see it very well, but it does have quite a big crack going across here. So I don't want to put my label there because obviously it's broken. That's okay. It really doesn't matter which side you put it on. I was just going for some consistency, but for this one, I'm going to put it on the other side. I have my pom-poms and pipe cleaners label, which I just noticed. I am missing the eye. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. So I have my transfer tape here, and I'm just going to stick that back on. This label is also a bit too big for this section of the container, but we're going to try it. I think I must have just measured this top part, not this part here where it curves into a smaller section, but that's okay. I'm just looking at all the labels I've done so far, and I don't know if you can tell, but I am missing the dot to an eye in Christmas on the white silver Christmas box. Those little dots are so hard to keep track of. Coming in from the future because I found the dot. I was having dinner and I looked down, and what do I see? But a teeny tiny little white dot on my shirt. I had to find which bin it was that was missing the dot, and it's this one here. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, back on my shirt. So I'm gonna stick the dot right above the eye of Christmas. There we go. Now back to me from earlier today. Let's put one more label on a box together. This one is the tape and glue box. I have this label that says tape and glue, and I'm rolling out my contact paper, cutting out a piece that is a little bit bigger than my label, then sticking the transfer tape onto my label and pushing it down with my scraper tool, trying to get all those letters to transfer onto the tape. I'm peeling it off. Oh, I lost the L. It did not transfer onto the tape. I'm going to line it back up here so the L is right in its place and try to get that to stick to the transfer tape. Take two, and with a little help, all the letters are there. Now I can stick it onto my box. I'm pressing down carefully on all of the letters with my scraper tool, Then I'm pulling off the transfer tape. Here's the inside of my craft cupboard with all of the labels on my boxes. I just love how this looks. I think it gives it such a clean, organized look. And I love that I used the white vinyl as the labels. I think it stands out really nicely, especially against a lot of the craft supplies. Ooh, I still need to make a label for that box. This box has some more Christmas ornaments in it. I want to make some kind of a label for this one, but it'll have to be a different style since this is a white box. So I'll have to figure that out. But overall, this is what the cupboard is looking like with all of the craft supplies in the boxes and everything all labeled. I also have my florals up top. Here's the overview of what the cupboard is looking like. Everything is in its place, all labeled, and everything should be super easy to find now. Thank you so much for watching this video. I had so much fun making labels for all my craft supplies. Now I'm feeling super organized and ready to craft. I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel and let me know in the comments below what kind of video you want to see from me next. Give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.